Hello, everyone, and welcome to another weekly analysis on EMini futures. We are looking at ES futures, and today is October 29th. We are looking into the week of October 31st. Sorry for not posting few videos for the last few weeks and been pretty busy, so could not get to posting. And I'm here to talk about what should we see going into the FOMC week for next week. Before I dwell into how we want to trade, I want to show you some of these pullbacks on a very wider time frame. This is the pullback of the dot-com burst, and if you see, that was almost 1015 days of 50% a pullback. So that's like almost 3 years of 50% pullback. So around 18 to 19% every year over year. Then this was our subprime mortgage over almost 2 years, same 50% pullback. This was a very sharp pullback on COVID, which was around 33% over 51 days. But we don't see such kind of a pullback here yet. And almost through a year, we see a pullback of close to 30%. Looks more like, a bear market rather than a sharp COVID kind of crisis. So that's where I am drawing the similarities with the dot-com bubble burst and, the subprime mortgage. This looks pretty similar, where it is a controlled bear market, controlled selling. Is this the bottom? That's very hard to say, but it's pretty evident to draw similarities with similar events in the past. Look into that, and keeping that into account, I would still consider the trend to be bearish, but having the elections in November and looking at how the VIX is looking, and let's look at that for a little bit of time. This is how the VIX future is looking, which seems that there's in November, it would be from November to December, they are projecting the VIX to go down. Hence, I'm also looking at a squeeze happening now. And that's exactly, if you look at the monthly, is what we see here is a small squeeze happening, at least in the monthly charts. Let's dive into the weekly here. And if we look at the weekly, that is a shoulder, that's a head, and we are not yet another shoulder, and that's also a very good resistance there. So I'm going to add resistance right here. And if we look at the trend that got broken on the weekly, and let me draw a channel here, that was a trend. To be quite precise, that was the trend that we broke out. We tested, we made a head there, and we completely sold off and broke that trend. And then on a weekly basis, we consolidated almost sideways for 4 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. I know it doesn't look like consolidation, but that's how it looks like here. Almost for a month we consolidated and then we broke out. So considering that, I would put this as a very good support area here, right there. So 37.65, something like that. Now, will we test this channel and see some resistance there? I would say yes. So 40.31 is another resistance area right there. And let's actually zoom out here and look if that resistance makes sense. And it does make sense. That was an area that it broke out and also was tested here, and it broke through that support. Now that support becomes a resistance, and also it is the bottom of this uptrending channel. I'll remove this channel as of now and draw some trend lines here. That's a primary trend line. That's a secondary trend line. And let's draw some trend lines from the bottom here. That's one primary trend line, and that's a secondary trend line. And I want to show you something that is very obvious here. If we look at this two trend lines, it is actually, if I draw something like that here, as you can see, that's a bear flag. So even though this trend is going up, this particular is a bear flag, and I'm keeping that into perspective and making sure that have we broken out of this bear flag, and if we break out, then that becomes a support there. So it is coming up to some major resistance here for sure, so that 40.13 area, and I want to dive further into the daily charts here and see if we have any other resistance that is between 37.65 and 40.13. So to do that, let's jump into the daily charts here. We'll just focus on 1 year daily here, remove some of these trend lines so that we can declutter our charts. And I'm just looking for, some support area here, and 39.30, that is this area here, 38.91, that is one support. So we'll put that support here, because if you see, that was a W, it broke out, retested, and now it is breaking out here, and this is the other resistance here right there, which is 39.30, and that would be the immediate resistance there that we should see some pullback. On a daily, it is definitely overbought, and hence oversold, and hence we should see, again, I'm sorry about that, overbought, and we should see some selling off, some cooling off here. And to keeping that in perspective, this is how I will trade going into next week. I'm looking for that head and shoulder for sure. So 40.13 is definitely a very strong area for me, but keeping into the way the VIX futures are looking and how the market is squeezing, I would want to go with the current trend, that is upsloping trend. So on the daily, if we try to draw a channel here on this upsloping trend, and we will start from the bottom, and we will try to join the tops. As you can see here, it is somewhere around that 4K mark where it seems this top of this channel. So 39.33 is a very weak resistance. Will I try a short there? I will definitely try a short, but I'll try at a very smaller position size and with confirmation. But if my short does not hold at 39.33, I'm going to take a long, give some cooling off points, so try a long somewhere like 39.40 to 42, targeting 40.13. I'm definitely going to look out for the FOMC minutes, and there are quite a few economic events happening next week. So I'm going to keep a very, very strong eye on that one. Hence, I will try to get out of the market before Wednesday if my target is reached, or whatever is the target I have found by that time, get out and re-enter after the FOMC announcements. So that is what I'm planning going into next week. It's a very, very tricky area, so hence I'll trade small and sparingly, and a lot of economic events happening, so I'll, in a way I may even stay away from trading and not trade that much and just keep trade to an intraday basis trading. And hence I would suggest trade sparingly, trade from the levels, and trade at a very small position size. And as always, keep your stop losses tight, your losses small, and your profit at large. Thank you for listening and have a great trading week.